Good afternoon. We are here today with Dr. Prudence Pollard. She is the Vice President of Quality Assurance, Faculty Development, Research, and Grants. Dr. P, welcome today. This is an exciting time for Oakwood University and for you as well. We understand that you have been the recipient of one of the highest achieving award that anyone or any civilian can receive from the President of the United States. So tell us a little bit about what led to you getting this award.
Thank you so much, Dr. Studio Hawkins. Colleagues, I was asked to share a little bit about the service. Apparently, the information about my service that has been, across more than 40 decades, got to certain individuals, and they asked if I would summarize and share that information with them. I did not know the purpose, why they wanted this information. I thought it was probably for some collaboration around a scholarly article or some grant work or research. Lo and behold, it was President Biden's National Volunteer Service Award that the panel was considering my bio for.
Wow.
And so
exciting.
I put that together, mostly starting with my early work in public health, in the community. Of course, I've been engaged with public health work since the early 80s, actually 1980 or so. Engaged with some of the projects out of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, not as a part of my job, but simply because I saw a need in the community and I sought to fulfill them. And of course, that's quite similar to what I have done here at Oakwood University with ensuring that we have a healthier campus.
Absolutely.
So I took it on myself, asked permission to begin to explore and put together a proposal to assess the state of the campus, and that was in 2013, and a two-phased program. And from what I hear from President Biden's people, it is the Healthy Campus Initiative, which of course won national recognition in 2018, that they saw as a benefit to the nation, a contributor to, because without health you can't learn.
That's right.
Without health, you cannot be a productive member of society.
Absolutely.
So they saw that as a contribution, and so I'm just thankful. So that is it, the President's National Service Achievement Award.
We are beaming with pride for our very own Dr. Prudence Pollard. We're so proud of you. So tell us a little bit about if someone were to be interested in being a volunteer, because you are the true epitome of what volunteerism is really all about. How would you advise someone to become involved or engage in volunteering in their community?
I really appreciate that question. Volunteerism is in the DNA of our country, okay? There's so many opportunities. I would say look for the opportunities in your place of work, but also within the community. So before I was volunteering or engaging in service outside of the borders of my place of employment, I was also volunteering for the Red Cross. I was volunteering for the American Heart Association. I was volunteering for the county health department. I was even volunteering for the school district in being trained as a crossing guard. My children never went to public school, but I saw that as a need, and so I became a trainer of crossing guards because I saw it as something very crucial and beneficial to my community. I would say there's one word that separates those who volunteer from those who do not volunteer. It's agentic. When you see a need, work to fulfill that need. Even if it is one pebble of activity at a time. When you see a need, seek to understand that need deeply, and then try to connect with an organization that may also be engaged. We're not independent souls. It's together that our little pebbles coming together can form a mountain that can enable large-scale change.
We're going to take that with us today. Dr. Prudence Pollard, thank you so much for joining Faculty Development today on this interview. We appreciate you so much, and we just are looking forward to all the other great things that you're going to do to advance Oakwood University and our community, and ultimately the nation and the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Sylvia Hawkins.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Prigg.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing very, very well.
Dr. Prigg, it is my privilege, my honor to interview you. You are the chair of the Department of English and Foreign Languages.
Yes.
And I believe we also have a major in Spanish
Yes.
and French.
We have a minor in French.
A minor in French.
We used to have a major. We're trying to bring it back.
But English is the big
Yes.
one on in your department. And I've been looking at your background, Dr. Prigg, and I see something very unique that many of us did not know about you. You are a trained playwright. Could you tell us a little bit about what is a playwright?
So a playwright is a person who is in the performance, but is more concerned with the script of writing playwrights, so that we have some things that can be performed. And in some cases that can not only be performed, but also become film and TV series. So playwriting isn't quite just simply performing on stage. It's much more in-depth. I always had a love for plays since junior high, when I would perform in different plays at the church, and then different plays when I got into high school. And I even had the opportunity to direct a play called Shut and Bar the Door, which did win a first place in a competition at that time. But it wasn't really until I got into Lincoln University and I had the opportunity to serve as the academic director for the Langston Hughes Playwrights Workshop, which is modeled after the Eugene O'Neill Playwright Workshop. And I worked with a theater program in Philadelphia, Bushfire Theaters. And I had the opportunity to meet a lot of African American playwrights and to really get a better understanding of what that was about. And so getting in touch with these persons since 2003 and for several years until I actually came to Oakwood University afforded me the opportunity to get what it meant to be a playwright, to get my hands into some things and realize that the process is not like stage play. It's different when you're performing for the screen.
Dr. Prigg, you are the chair of the English and Foreign Languages Department. What does that have to do with being a playwright?
Well, it's interesting. One of the opportunities that I've had, and I actually had this before I became chair back in 2012, is to look at what was happening on campus. And one of the things on campus is that there was a lot of dramatic activity going on. And I said to myself, we got to harness this, we got to hone this in to give students something for this creativity. And so in 2011, before I became chair, I wrote a proposal for our department in terms of a playwrights program. But at that time, the department wasn't ready to move in that direction. They said we got a number of things to deal with. And then when I became chair, I brought it back up as an agenda item, and they kept saying, we're not ready yet, let's wait a couple of years. Within that time, Danita Jones, she gave a presentation during a chapel program, and the president and some others were really excited about what they saw, and they tasked me with coming up with a proposal, which I did, and in my rush, I didn't necessarily dot all the I's and cross all the T's, so it again became sort of dormant. But then when Professor Nixon came by, Paul Nixon, who was into filming, I said, here's an opportunity. And I have to give kudos to Dr. Ramona Hyman, who finally got things rolling in terms of getting a performance program in our curriculum. So as chair, my thing was to see what was out there, how could we harness it so that it really could benefit students. And now that we have someone like Paul Nixon on our staff, because he really is the performance coordinator, as chair, I felt like I opened up that door for that to happen.
Oh my, what a wonderful opportunity for our
Yes.
students.
Yes.
And also for our faculty to connect with their scholarship,
Yes.
the scholarship of their discipline. You, Dr. Prigg, we understand that you wrote a 9-part play around, I think it is the standout
Yes,
principles
yes.
for health. Tell us about that.
Okay, I had this big smile because I hope I can contain my excitement. This was an opportunity I didn't necessarily foresee. I heard it might be coming, and then it became realized back in August of last year. When I say realized, in terms of getting the ball rolling for setting up these 9 episodes. What was so exciting about it is that I was able to also bring in my son, Bakari Prigg, who several years ago established a ministry called Under His Strings, which is a puppet TV ministry. And so when you see any of his works, it's as if you're looking at Sesame Street.
Temperance. This means self-control.
Self-control.
We said that we could use self-control. Self-control over a good thing? I thought you could never have too much of a good thing.
Well, you can have too much of anything, even something good.
First version of the play that I had written, all these episodes, it had to go through a process. And I didn't realize how many revisions I had to do to get it to where we now have it. So one of the things that I liked about this process is it allowed me to see things, again, from the on-screen perspective. It allowed me to appreciate the various people involved in that process. There was no way that Dr. Prigg could do it by himself, no way. It took a team, it took a team. And I would ask all persons related to Oakwood to read that standout book by our own. It is very, very informative, it is very, very practical, and I don't know what my life would be like had I not really gotten into those principles. And so for children to be able to begin to understand those principles, it's a marvelous, what we might call educational evangelism.
Colleagues, we encourage you to understand the principles, the standout principles that Dr. Prigg has now taken from the collegiate environment. Standout and the Standout book, The 8 Secrets, was written by Oakwood University faculty and students to ensure that we know how to practice and live a healthier life.
Yes.
And so thank you, Dr. Prigg, for bringing Standout to a younger audience through playwriting and also through the science, the art and science of puppetry.
Yes.
Colleagues, you're seeing how the mind of a playwright works. You're seeing the mind of a scholar at work as he identifies the various elements and the various talents that have to be brought together. Dr. Prigg, you produced a magnificent DigiHealth production, and our children at the Community Health Action Center will be enjoying that. We have seen the reaction of the adults. We have seen the reaction of some of our children already, and we thank you for bringing your scholarship into the service space to benefit your university, and I'd also say your students, because many of them were on stage as performers behind the puppets.
Yes.
And we look forward to when that is unveiled also to the community during Camp Oaks this summer, June 6, 2022. Dr. Prigg, any last words for our audience?
Stand out.
Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. We're here at Oakwood University. I'm here with Dr. Bucknor, and we're here to discuss her most recent achievement and certification that she received. So Dr. Bucknor, why don't you go ahead and explain what you've been doing recently?
Well, I, in the past month, passed both licensure exams to qualify to be a licensed psychologist in the state of Alabama.
Oh, wow.
And as of May 13, I will be board voted as a licensed clinical psychologist in Alabama.
That is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, look, I have a couple questions for you here. So tell us about the certification that you recently received. What kind of details can you give us?
Well, as a licensed psychologist, I will be, I guess, the expert in psychology and services related to psychology. That includes therapy, assessment, diagnosis, treatment, and education, as well as consultation in areas of psychology. This comes after years of doctoral study. You complete a PhD or PsyD, and then for some states there's a requirement for an extra year of internship hours. And for the state of Alabama, there's an additional requirement. Well, for all states, you pass the licensure exam. But for the state of Alabama, you also pass the professional standards exam. A person applies for approval to take those exams, and that requires that you stay in touch with the doctoral program that granted you the degree. And then you apply and make the payment for the test, schedule and study. And studying is the longest part. But once you take the test, if you pass, you are granted a license in Alabama, unless there's concerns that the board has with your file. Mm-hmm.
I was not aware of the full process of getting to that level.
It can take a year for all of this to happen with no hiccups. I started this process last summer in contacting my program, emailing people who were my supervisors, and getting responses from them. That took about 3 months to get all of their information, and then sending it into the board. That's another couple of months. And during this time, it would be wise to study, and so I was trying to do that as well.
Okay, well, that seems very incredible. So tell us, with all of this, how does you plan to have this advance your career and Oakwood's mission?
Okay, well, first, being a licensed psychologist, as a student of psychology, we are given several options. You can stop at the master's degree and seek license as a professional counselor. You can seek to teach in an academic institution, high school, college, or graduate school. And each one of those areas requires a different level of certification. So for most colleges and universities, it is ideal to have a doctoral degree. And I have had that as a goal for a long time, and when I reached that goal now 8 years ago, the next step was licensure. And licensure as a psychologist opens many more doors for a person who is in psychology. As I stated, all of those services a licensed psychologist is able to provide under the state of Alabama or whatever state you're licensed in. So this advances my career, kind of widens it a lot in that now I can be considered a content expert in some areas of psychology. I can seek to engage in clinical practice by talking or doing therapy with others. I can teach, continue to teach, and how that relates to Oakwood is that the students that I teach now have the opportunity to hear from me about real life clinical work, rather than teaching it from the book and remembering to my internship. The clinical work that I do as a licensed psychologist can relate to the content that I teach. So the students have the opportunity to hear about cases without the identification, of course, but they have the opportunity to hear about real clinical work. And that helps make the content that they study just more live for them. And that reflects the mission, I think, because the goal is really to help students prepare them for work in their area, whether to start off with graduate school or immediate work. But the more prepared they are relates to how much they are able to see the content in their textbook in real life.
Okay.
And I hope to help that very much.
Our mission again is to learn and to part to serve. So we want to again thank you, Dr.
Thank
Bucknor,
you.
for joining us today, and congratulations on your most recent certification.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.